Gauranga Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shila Guru Dev Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Sorry, Nitya Lila Pravishta Vishvachila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Vaiṣṇava Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Anugagariya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Śrīla Baladev Vijabhushan Prabhu Ki Jai. Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Trai Ki Jai. Śrīla Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Pad Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopala Bhattadas Raghunath Shard Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Swarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Abhinna Vrindavan Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishtapadata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda Ki Jai. Shri Amuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shri Papa Mochani Akarashi Titi Ki Jai. Akarashi Titi Palan Karivakta Vrinda Ki Jai. The Rays of the Harmonist magazine Ki Jai. Jai. All the magazines by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and all of his followers Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranams, Satya Mataji and Manjari Didi, Kishore Krishna Prabhu, Sumukhi Didi, Rukmini Didi, and let's see who else is there. And there's some devotees on YouTube and Facebook, but I can't see your name because there's no comment. So if you write a comment, I'll see who you are. But Dandavat Pranams, everybody. All right. So this article, so far in our readings, this is our 5th Rays of the Harmonist, Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī. Well, hopefully it'll be an Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī. We'll see what happens. Yeah, if anybody at any time has anything to share, please don't hesitate. I really appreciate if anybody can contribute. So in our previous readings, we've been reading about how, so far every article, we've read an article by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, an article by Srila Bhakti Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, Srila Bhakti Śrīla Gosvāmī Mahārāja, and another one by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada. And they've been, in these articles, they've been pounding in our heads over and over the point that our Guru Varga, these illustrious Vaishnavas, are completely transcendental. And that whatever we currently think about them, it's very far from reality, whatever we have in our heads right now. But yeah, in the previous articles, there's been more emphasis on their Vani, on the transcendental message. And in this article, my Param Gurudev Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, he's going to be focusing on the vapu, on the body. But yeah, like in the first one, what was the first one? Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda, the speciality of his Vani or something like that. We heard about how you'll find scholars who have got by heart everything that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura has written. You can ask them about any section from any one of his books, and they'll be able to very accurately summarize and even expand upon any point. And they can show correlations between his writings in this book and this book and that book. And, so from a purely empirical viewpoint, the scholar will be brilliant. And, any person from an empiric viewpoint, they'll think that he has very deep knowledge of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. But Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he said in that first article that we read, that person doesn't even understand a single word of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Nothing to do with Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is material. That's why when we say his name, we attach Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. He's completely Satchidananda. And so if you think that you've understood even a speck of the Satchidananda Vastu, the completely transcendental reality with your brain made of material elements, then you are extremely deluded. And it means you haven't even understood a single thing from Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. You might be able to accurately repeat his words, but those words actually aren't his teachings, whatever you're mechanically repeating. We're 100% dependent on the grace of a pure Mahabhagavat, somebody who's realized his nature being Satchidananda. And so yeah, that's been like the topic that we've been reading in all of the articles now, is the transcendental nature. And now this one, we're going to be focusing, as I mentioned, on, that was about the Vani. Now we're focusing on the Vapu, his form, his body. Before I start, though, I just want to read a brief excerpt from my Śrīla Gurudev's, he wrote a biography about my Param Gurudev Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja. It's called Acharya Keshari Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, his life and teachings, I think. So I just wanted to get here. I'll just share my screen so you can see. 1 second, let me just open it up. Okay. And then we'll continue. Then we'll start reading from the article. So 1 second, just sharing my screen. And this will help us, I think, understand the article. It's like a good introduction, I think. So, okay. So my Gurudev says, this is from the beginning of the book. Adhokshaj Vastu, the transcendental reality, has no birth or death. Of Vaishnavas as well. The Vaishnavas has no birth or death, no father or mother. They are not subject to birth and death, nor do they belong to any worldly family, caste, or order of life. In this world, the Vaishnavas' material situations are only a performance of manifest of prakat and unmanifest aprakat pastimes. By the desire of Śrī Bhagavan, Vaishnavas appear in this world in a particular family or lineage, but the Shastras forbid us to think that they have a material origin. Now there's this famous verse from Padma Puran, very often quoted. Arche Vishnu Shiladhir Kurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Bhudir Vishnurva Vaishnavanam Kalimala Matane Padatirtem Buddhi Shri Vishnur Namni Mantre Sakala Kalushahe Shabda Samanya Buddhir Vishnu Sarveshwareshe Taritara Samadhir Yasyava Narakisa. So this verse means, one becomes a resident of hell if he thinks the deity to be mere stone, Gurudev to be an ordinary human being. What is that? Gurushu Naramatir. If we think Gurudev to be an ordinary human being, the Vaishnavas to belong to some caste, Vaishnava Jati Budhir. The water which has washed the lotus feet of Vishnu or the Vaishnavas to be ordinary water. The mantra and holy names of Vishnu, which destroy all sins, to be ordinary sounds. And the Supreme Lord Vishnu to be equal to the demigods. Anyone who thinks like this becomes a resident of hell. Therefore, according to the transcendental scriptures, those who attempt to determine a Vaishnava's birth, family, caste, etc. in the material world are fools. They are hypocrites and offenders to that Vaishnava. The Sattvata Shastras prohibit such considerations for Vaishnavas. Another quote from Padma Purana, it says, Nakarma bandhanam janma Vaishnavanam chavidyate. Vaishnavas are not under the jurisdiction of birth and karma. And so then my Gurudev starts off, he says, Shruti Smriti and the spotless Purana Śrīmad Bhagavatam state the indisputable definition of a Vaishnava family lineage. It is firmly established in the meaning of the transcendental knowledge of the Vedas, Amnaya. In other words, in the teachings of the Bhagavat Guru Parampara. My most worshipful Srila Guru Pad Padma, Śrīmad Bhakti Prajñāna Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, has personally described his own Vaishnava family succession in the Gaudiya Giti Gucha, the songbook that he compiled and edited. He describes it following in the footsteps of Sri Kavi Karnapur, Sri Baladevi Vibhushan, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And then he gives the Guru Parampara song that we sing every morning. So yeah, I just thought that's a nice introduction to what we're going to read now. And if anybody would like to have, I'm reading right now from the ebook, the EPUB I made. As you can see here, these are the 5 last articles that we read: Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Thakur Satchidananda Bhaktivinoda, A Glimpse of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Immortal Oceans of Mercy, and Transcendental Vaiṣṇavas. I made it in EPUB format so that you could read it on a Kindle, or you could read it using any book app. This is the standard book app that comes with Mac computers. But yeah, if you want to read it on your phone, it's just a pleasant way to read it. And if you want access to that, let me know. I send it out to before every session in the email that I send out. But if you haven't subscribed, go to raysoftheharmonist.com, and then you'll find a place to enter in your email there, and then you'll receive these EPUBs. All right. So one second. Where is it? Where did it go? There it is. Okay.
So if we have something to say, shall we just use the hand raise reaction in the Zoom?
Yes, I think and actually how do you think would be a good way to do this? I mean, like I'm very inexperienced at doing these kinds of things, so I'm used to just like
the article is pretty short. You could read it. You didn't read this before, right?
No. Yeah, it's very short. I timed myself reading it just now, and it took me 15 minutes to read. So I'm wondering, would it be good?
After.
Yeah, that's one option, is that we could read through it and then discuss after. But then I'm wondering if we'll forget, like what we read before. I don't know. What do you think? Would it be good to like read one section and then stop and discuss it a bit, and then read another section, discuss a bit, so that we don't forget the previous points? Or should we just read it through and then go back?
I personally prefer interactive, where we stop and discuss and stop and discuss.
Yeah, actually, that might be a good way also, because last time when we read the last reading, I had just read through the whole article, and then I couldn't really remember all the points, and it didn't really flow so nicely. So yeah, let's try doing it like that. Right. So,
but if we want to stop, so we'll just use the raised hands reaction, and then it'll pop up for you or something.
Yeah, you could do it either way. You could raise your hand. You can use the raise hand thing, or you could just also butt in. It's not like I'm going to lose the flow, like lose where we are. So yeah, either way is fine. Yeah, everybody should feel totally free to just jump in at any point.
All right.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Vishaka Didi, Ashu Singh, Amit Dandekar, and everybody else. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's begin. And this article was, when was it? I'm just jumping to the ends to see, when was this spoken? Okay, so this is excerpts from a lecture given by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja on the occasion of the auspicious appearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, 21 December 1934, in the avidyā-haraṇa temple hall at Śrī Caitanya Maṭha, Śrī Dhāma Māyāpura. 1934. What year did Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada enter Nitya Leela?
1937, January 1st.
Okay, 1937, January 1st. Okay, so this is just a few years before he entered Nitya Leela. And this was published in the Dainik Nadīyā Prakāśa, year 9, number 180. That's the daily newspaper of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which was managed by Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. And we're actually, the day after tomorrow, we're going to have a session. Srivas has been translating, he's going through and translating every single issue of Dainik Nadīyā Prakāśa, which spans for 12 years, so a lot of articles. And every 2 weeks, he's going to show us highlights from what he's been translating. So that we'll have that session the day after tomorrow at the same time. Okay, Transcendental Vaiṣṇavas, non-different in body and soul. Śrīmad Bhakti-Vigyān Keśava Gosvāmī. The Vaishnav is neither born nor dies. Whatever we know about birth and death in this world does not apply to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. In fact, instead of saying birth and death, the Vaishnavas use the terms avirbhav and tirobhav, which means appearance and disappearance, or prakat and aprakat, that means manifested and unmanifested, and so forth. By using the words birth and death, a kind of mournful mood full of disbelief, grief, and lamentation arises in the heart. But such moods do not arise when we use the words like avirbhav and tirobhav, or prakat and aprakat. Yes, Satyamataji?
Okay, so I'm not used to using those words, avirbhav and tirobhav. I'm, old, and we just always said appearance and disappearance. So I looked them up, the roots of these words. And avir means before the eyes. Avir means before the eyes. And tiro means discernible through the darkness or beyond the veil. So I just thought that was really interesting as far as this discussion goes, that they're before your eyes and then they are beyond the veil. I just thought that was interesting. So I throw that.
That's very neat. And actually in a paragraph, like a little bit later, he's going to explain an example like that. So that's really neat to know that's great. And Rukmini, Didi, I see you have your hand raised also.
Yes, so I think I have been using these words, avirbhav and tirobhav, appearance and disappearance. And maybe it's in a real devotee that one doesn't feel pain on the tirobhav day. But I was remembering that in the Rai Ramananda Samvad, Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai, what is the most unbearable pain? Or what is the greatest suffering in the world? And he said that other than separation from the Vaishnav, there is no unbearable unhappiness. So when here he says there is no pain, I was So first of all, there was that verse, and second of all, there's, I mean, there's my experience. My experience may be because I'm not a real devotee, but I did. There is also that verse.
Yes. Well, that is such an that's an amazing topic about separation. Like, it's different from material grief, and actually it is the topmost happiness, right? There's a whole article called "A True Experience of Separation" by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja, and he goes very deep into the tattva of what separation, like the difference between bereavement, like material bereavement, and transcendental separation. And he explains it in a very amazing way. Like, I haven't seen it explained like that anywhere else. Maybe I can show you that. Like, I can share that later on. But Manjari has her hand raised right now.
Just what an incredible topic. Thank you so much, Satya Didi and Rukmini Didi, for really, I mean, what a huge topic and really deep. And just in your couple of short comments, both of you suddenly plunged us into this huge ocean. What comes to mind is I remember Harikatha of our Gurudev, where he commented also, like you're saying, Madhukar, on the difference between mundane grief or bereavement and spiritual separation, which is just one thing to consider out of so many, is that one of the differences is that if our feelings for Sri Guru or the Vaishnav result in any slackening of devotional activities, sadhana or practice, or lessening of enthusiasm, then that's not the result of true separation from the Vaishnavas. So feeling separation from the Vaishnavas results in an increased enthusiasm and absorption in devotional, like it intensifies, increases our devotional activities and our enthusiasm. And then the second thing I was thinking of is how the example is given, it might be in that article you mentioned, I can't remember, how just like when you have something so super hot, it starts to feel cold, like when you get frostbite or in the snow. So that's one of the examples given in terms of how the spiritual emotions of separation are a transformation of joy. It's just a variety in the ocean of ecstatic joy. That was one of the examples I remember hearing, but I can't remember from where. And I just love this. This is an appearance day, Harikatha, but he mentions later in the article, I think, and he's starting to talk about Tirobhav Tattva. So I find that really interesting and something to think about too, how linked they are. I don't have any realizations or anything to say, really. I just wanted to share these morsels, food for thought to, going forward.
Yeah, that's such an important point, is the way we are able to tell if we're actually feeling separation or if it's like spiritual or material is if we, like, I'm just repeating what you said, but if we actually like, it's not just that we're feeling sad and dejected and like that, but that we like feel like we want to connect with them through their words, and like we feel more enthusiasm to connect with them and to like more enthusiasm in spiritual life. And just I'm just reading one paragraph from here, from this article, A True Experience of Separation. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he says, if we think that Vaishnava Thakur has departed from this world and dropped us in an ocean of sorrow, then we are attributing fault to his character. But why would he inflict pain upon us? He does not know how to give pain to anyone. This is why the term Viraha Utsav, a festival of separation, came to be used in Vaishnava literature. The word Utsav refers to that which yields happiness and love, not joylessness or sorrow. And then he goes on to explain like a few paragraphs down, like in the next section, he says, to view happiness and distress equally is actually Vaikuntha Darshan. In such Vaikuntha Darshan, one perceives uniformity in every object and entity. At the same time, this equality is full of distinctiveness. Worldly iniquities are not found in the divine realm. In this world, happiness and distress are opposites. In the transcendental realm, in the transcendental world, these same conflicting forces produce a divine mutual uniformity, replete with unique specialities. Happiness and sadness dwell either side of a single path. They advance from opposite directions at the same pace till they meet at a point in the middle. This middle ground is called Sambhoge Vipralamba, separation and meeting, and Vipralambe Sambhog, meeting and separation. Sri Gaurasundar himself is the presiding deity of this juncture. Avirbhav and Tirobhav are the representations of Sambhog and Vipralamba.
Could you just read that last sentence again? Sorry, slowly, about Mahaprabhu being in the middle meeting point of these two things.
Okay, so happiness and sadness, in Vaikuntha, happiness and sadness dwell on either side of a single path, and they advance from opposite directions at the same pace till they meet at a point in the middle. This middle ground is called Sambhoge Vipralamba, that means separation and meeting, and Vipralambe Sambhog, meeting and separation. So Sri Gaurasundar himself is the presiding deity of this juncture. Avirbhav and Tirobhav are the representations of Sambhog and Vipralamba. So the apprehension of separation experienced at the moment of meeting increases the intensity of union. The deeper the worry of impending separation that arises in one's heart during meeting, the sweeter the burgeoning flavor of meeting. Likewise, the more acute the impact of meeting, the more the endless current of Vipralamba Ras inundates the heart with separation. Such phenomena are illuminated in the life and character of supremely liberated personalities.
So that would be another symptom, the increased utsaha, feeling of festiveness, although maybe with tears, but that there's a special sense of meeting with Sri Guru that you never had before in his presence, and or Vaishnavas. Like we, through hearing this article and discussing, we are meeting with Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura in a very special way that we never have before. It's fascinating.
Yes. Yes. There's another article. Oh God, sorry. I probably should continue on reading, but there's one other thing. Where is it? I just found it. It's on. 1 second. It's really great. Okay. So this is from an article from. I'll share the screen so you can read it along with me. Here. So this is from an article by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja from Rays of The Harmonist 2006. And it's called Remembering Śrīla Prabhupada. That's the title of it. He says, words of consolation at the time of his departure. To console me, the dearmost associates of Guru have acquainted me with the statements of Sri Shukadev, the son of Vyas, in the first chapter of the 11th canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, which recount Sri Hari's departure. Rajan Parasya Tanubrij Jana. I'm going to skip here's a translation. O king, you should apprehend that a stage actor remains unchanged, even though while on stage before his audience, he accepts various roles in which he enacts birth and death. Similarly, the acts of Krishna, the super soul of all, in which he takes birth and disappears in the Yadu dynasty, may resemble the birth and death of embodied beings. But this is simply an act of his illusory potency. In reality, the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan himself, has created this universe and entered it as its supersoul to enact his divine play. Again, at the time of destruction, he annihilates and winds up the entire creation within himself, and then passively situates himself in his own transcendental glory. That's Śrīmad Bhagavatam 11:31-11. The eternal form of the Acharya Dev is composed of knowledge and bliss, and remains constitutionally unchangeable, just like a dramatic performer who appears to go through various transformations during his performance, but remains the same unaltered person. On the stage of this world, the Acharya Dev merely acts out birth, death, and so forth, all of which we can perceive using our knowledge-acquiring senses. The birth and death of an ordinary living entity is filled with pain and suffering. But the appearance and disappearance of the spiritual conscious form of the Ati Martya Acharya, who is beyond the control of the material nature, is full of joy. To astonish his audience, a magician may use a weapon to execute a person standing before him. An ignorant child cries upon seeing this. But those who know better understand that the killing is merely an illusion and do not lament for the person slain. While the unbearable disappearance pastime of the Acharya is like a stage act, an ignorant person like me, who does not comprehend this, cannot be consoled. Thus, I perceive his disappearance pastime, which is full of joy, to be extremely painful and heartrending. Thus, while the servants of Sri Guru are feeling true separation, I am lamenting like a Shudra. I have heard from you that viraha, separation, enhances the elegance of service. And when anything that stimulates remembrance of one's object of worship appears on the path of one's vision, it progressively makes one's attachment for that object unflinching. Separation looks to enhance the highest pleasure of one's worshipable object. In the states of lamentation, however, the bound jiva becomes bewildered and thus inactive. His energy and capacity disappear, and he becomes afflicted by grief. Due to the absence of service, one cannot see in him any transformation akin to an enhancement of joy. Thus, I, like an ignorant fool, a Shudra, have become overwhelmed by lamentation. I am unable to discover any enthusiasm within. Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam, to serve the master of the senses with my senses. This has become a formidable task for me. And this is a topic actually that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja talks about a lot in a few different articles. But yeah, yes, Rukmini Didi?
So this metaphor of the stage actor reminded me of a story that was told about a saintly person. And unfortunately, I forget which saintly person this was, a guru. But he was performing his pastime of being very ill with a high fever and extremely ill. And then, and so he had a disciple who was taking care of him, a sevak. And then the sevak came in and said, Guruji, someone has come to see you. So-and-so has come to see you. Shall I tell him that you are very ill and cannot see him now? And then the guru said, no. And then he said, bring me my blanket. So the disciple was confused because the guru was very feverish. So why did he need a blanket? So he brought the blanket. Then the Guru Dev coughed into the blanket. Then he said, hang this blanket on the wall. So the disciple said, okay. And he hung the blanket on the wall, and he had put his fever into the blanket. So then he got up and he was perfectly healthy, and he went down to see the person.
Wow. That's really awesome. I've never heard that one before. That's really neat. So it's just showing that it's all an act, like an actor. Gives us an opportunity, because I remember when my Gurudev performed his sickness Leela. At that time, all the devotees all over the world became like they stopped whatever things they do before, watching movies, going out and having fun. Like everybody just renounced everything and became super very focused, very serious in their practices, and that went on for months. It's the first time in my life I've ever chanted 64 rounds. I was doing that every day. Everybody was doing and so this is actually a pastime of the Acharya to increase the intensity of the feelings of all the devotees and their connection with Shri Guru. So yeah, it's the greatest act of mercy. That's why Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Keśava Gosvāmī Mahārāja says the Vaishnavas don't know how to give pain to anybody in this world. They only know how to give auspicious, like, bring about the greatest auspiciousness for everybody. It's a great, wonderful story. Thank you, Rukmini. All right, I'm going to continue reading from the article. That was great, though. Thank you so much. It was a wonderful discussion. Okay, so factually, for the Vaishnav, pain is completely absent in his appearance and disappearance, unlike the experience of birth and death. Generally, therefore, the Vaishnavas do not use the term birth, but instead say appearance or manifestation. And in place of the term death, they say disappearance or has become unmanifest. We understand this from a statement from Śrī Caitanya Bhagavat, the scripture describing the pastimes of Śrī Caitanya Dev. Adyapiho Śrīla kore gorai kono kono bhagyavan dekhibare pai. I'm just going to finish this one section and then I'll So this verse from Chaitanya Bhagavat says, Śrī Caitanya Mahaprabhu is still performing his pastimes to this day, but only a few very fortunate souls can see them. From this, we can apprehend that Śrī Caitanya Dev's eternal servants and associates are indeed ever present. Among us, a few had the good fortune some time ago to have the direct audience, the darshan of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, like Śrīla Bhakti Pramod Goswami Maharaj. We read 2 times he had his darshan. But because it is not possible to see him at present, a doubt can arise that he is existing eternally. It should be understood, however, that despite the inability of our mundane eyes to perceive him, he is still present to this day. Do not be amazed by this. I am speaking the truth, the complete truth. He is present with us even today. I will endeavor to remove your doubt to some extent with an example, and we'll read that example in a minute. But first, Satyamataji, yes.
I just have a question. Do you have a citation for that verse that's there? Do you know where?
No, but I could probably find it in a second. Like if I just go to Folio, I can just type it in and find it. Send me a WhatsApp message, or well, yeah, and I'll look for it if I forget, and then I can look for it later. It's a nice verse, isn't it? Adyapiha Śrīla kore gorai kono kono bhagyavan dekhibare pai. Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on even today, and only some very fortunate persons are able to see. So this doesn't just apply to Mahaprabhu, but it applies to all the pure devotees who are his eternal servants and associates.
This kind of reminds me of the pastime with Dhyan Chandra Goswami and Gopal Guru Goswami. That after Gopal Guru Goswami, he entered Nitya Leela, and Dhyan Chandra personally put him in samadhi and everything. And then one day, some devotee came to him and said, "And you know your Gurudev is there in Dear Samir?" And he's like, "Wait, what?" And he immediately took off, and he went to Dear Samir, and he found Gopal Guru Goswami there. He was there, and he was like, "What do you? Put him in samadhi. What happened?" And he talked to Gopal Guru Goswami, and Gopal Guru Goswami told him, "Okay, hey, now go back to Jagannath Puri. You saw me? Okay, now go."
That's a perfect example. Yes. Yes. All right, so our deeply rooted doubt. Okay, so it should be understood, however, that despite the inability of our mundane eyes to perceive him, to perceive Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, he is still present to this day. Do not be amazed by this. I'm speaking the truth, the complete truth. He is present with us even today. I will endeavor to remove your doubt to some extent with an example. Our deeply rooted doubt. Imagine that we are seated by a window inside a house and are looking outside toward the pathway. We see someone walking along the path and can keep sight of him to the extent that our vision allows. When he passes beyond the framework of the window, he goes out of our sight. Please contemplate this example carefully. We accepted his existence upon his entering our vision, but to conclude that he ceases to exist the moment we cannot see him indicates a definite lack of intelligence. That person existed before coming into our vision and continues to exist after he leaves our sight. This is the proper understanding. I'm just going to finish this section and then I'll actually no, you can say something now, Rukmini Didi.
Well, I was just going to say, he calls it lack of intelligence. It's an actual function of the intelligence called object permanence, to understand that something still exists even after, when you can't see it. And it develops in children, and then they get really happy about playing peekaboo. So.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, so if we're not able to understand the Vaishnavas are present even when they disappear, then we haven't even reached that stage where a child's able to play peekaboo, right? What is that called again?
They're playing peekaboo with us.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, object permanence.
Object permanence. Very neat. If we relate this example to Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura and his action of appearance, avirbhav, and disappearance, tirobhav, our doubts can be removed to some degree. It is simply not logical to think that because we cannot see him with our mundane eyes, he is not present today. The Vaishnavas are eternal. Their bodies are transcendental and eternal, and they are not bound within the abject, temporary, material nature and subject to birth and death, nor can they ever be so. Now, you may doubt that the Vaishnav's body is transcendental. Within your minds, you may consider the body that Thakur Mahashaya came with when he appeared in this world was left behind when he disappeared. We touched his gross body after he left this world and placed that body in samadhi. When he departed for the eternal abode, he did not take with him that body that we perceived here. We put him in samadhi with our own hands. Just as there is a difference between the body and the soul of the materially conditioned living entity, similarly, the body and the soul of Śrīla Ṭhākura were also different, you might think. This is evident in his leaving that material body behind and departing with his soul form, the Dehi Rup, the form that the body embodies. Whatever, you get Dehi Rup. So then Param Gurudev, he says, your reasons for raising this objection or doubt are valid. But to doubt the Vaishnavas in this way will result in us suffering dreadful inauspiciousness. Although we have heard repeatedly that the form of the Vaishnava is transcendental, the contaminating filth of this doubt lingers in our consciousness and is not removed by any means. It is only to maintain the etiquette of respecting the instructions of the Vaishnavas and the statements of the scriptures that we do not express this doubt through our mouth. Nevertheless, this mundane mentality is certainly awake in our minds. We might not say it out loud, but it's a doubt that lingers in everybody's mind. O Mat resident Vaishnavas and respected gentlemen, please do not be displeased by my words, for it is not impossible for such a mentality to reside in the heart of an unfortunate living entity like me. Such feelings have been present in my mind for many days, and it is for this reason that today, even though it is the auspicious appearance day of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, I am discussing the fundamental principles relating to the disappearance of a transcendental personality, Tirobhav Tattva. There is no difference between the Vaishnav's body and his soul. But for those who are skeptical, I will try to clarify it with an example, for it is indeed a fact that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura took his self-same form with him to that eternal abode of transcendental magnanimity, the Audaryamoy Nitya Dham. We shall now strive to understand this point. Yes, Rukmini Didi.
So what about Kamala Manjari?
Oh yes, okay, that's an interesting point, and I don't have an answer for that. But yes, there's like the transcendental form, because we can have actually one thing I heard Shamala Mataji explain one time. Is that Shamala Mataji? Maybe you could explain it better if this is the same Shamala I'm thinking about. Is this Shamala? I remember if this is a Shamala I'm thinking about. Yeah, you told me that one time you were with Gurudev in a darshan, and he was explaining to you how Krishna is present in every atom. No. So first, somebody asked Gurudev the question, where is Srila Prabhupada right now? Where is he today? And then Shamala, would you like to explain that darshan? I'll try my best to explain it, like from what I remember, but you could probably explain it better since I heard it from you. Okay, I'll try to explain it then. You could jump in though if I get something wrong. So yeah, they said, where is Srila Prabhupada today? And Gurudev was recounting this. He said that somebody asked me this question. He told Shamala, somebody asked me this question, and I gave an answer that I never said before. This is something I've never spoken before and never heard before. But that just as Krishna is present within every single atom, right? Like, so Krishna is never alone. He's accompanied by all of his associates. So in the same way, all of Krishna's associates are present within every single atom with Krishna. And yes, and so same thing, Srila Prabhupada is eternally with Krishna. Wherever Krishna is, he's with Krishna. So he's also present in every atom. So where is Srila Prabhupada today? He's everywhere. He's not. So yeah. Yes. So but then the Rukmini Didi was asking that maybe that's not totally addressing that, because Rukmini Didi is saying, but what about Kamala Manjari? But I think also in every, like, the associates are present with Krishna in Krishna's different forms. And maybe they also have different forms, you know, like you could be simultaneously in Gaur Lila and Krishna Lila, Vraja Lila. And so, yeah, I don't know. Does that kind of?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
In a darshan with a Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, the devotee asked him, Maharaj, what's going on in Vrindavan when Krishna comes to this world? And it's like, what's going on in the Nitya Leela when Krishna comes to this world? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, same thing. Same thing? Yeah, same thing. Infinite minus infinite equals infinite. Infinite plus infinite equals infinite. So my understanding is that Kamala Manjari is eternally there in the spiritual world, regardless whether he descends here or not.
That's an interesting thought, though. I have no idea the answer to this. If anybody has any more idea about this, but I wonder how many different forms the Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura has. Of course, he's serving as Kamala Manjari, and then he comes to this world as Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. But then in Mahaprabhu's Leela, is he exactly in the same form as, like, the same form that we saw, you know, what is it, 200 years ago, or like 100 years ago? Over 100 years ago. Yeah, like 100 and whatever he appeared. Is it that same form in Mahaprabhu Leela, or does he have another form in Mahaprabhu Leela? And maybe even other forms when he goes into other material universes. But he is the same exact Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. And actually, something that we're going to read at the end of this is that we should not think that the soul is in the body of the Acharya and that he leaves and goes into another body, like that verse in Bhagavad Gita, like you remove clothes and you put on another clothes. It's not like that. That applies to us, but that does not apply to Acharyas. That will come later on. But I'm still wondering if he has different appearances in like lots of different appearances. It's just a nice question. Yes, Manjari Didi.
Before we get into that further, what you're describing, I just wanted to comment on how wonderful inspiring it is that here in this article, he's modeling for us, sorry, I don't know how to put the hand down. He's modeling for us how to express doubt in a way that is within the parameters of Vaishnav etiquette and sadachar, so that there should be no fear in our consciousness, in our daily, in our practice, in our relationship with our guru and with Vaishnavas. No fear, no hesitation, that intimacy, faith and trust, and just revealing of the heart. And it kind of infers like, okay, if just to maintain externally Vaishnav etiquette, I'm holding my tongue. So there may be various reasons for that. That's for us all to individually reflect on. But this process that he's doing in this article, he's walking us through how to kick out duplicity, fear, hesitation, any distance between that we're keeping between ourselves and Guru and Vaishnavas. It's like in this short article, that's what he's saying in this Tirobhav Tattva. He's taking this opportunity on the Avirbhav to just like kind of indirectly, he's like ripping out all of these big obstacles which are stopping us from being so close with our Gurudeva Tatma, which is where bhajan begins. And just so reflecting on, okay, why there may be these deep-seated mundane conceptions and I'm not expressing it, and then think about the reasons why, and just more oftentimes than not, speaking for myself, it can be from duplicity, that it's not matching the external behavior and the internal, what's really going on. And so to be committed to removing duplicity, and how these Avirbhav Tirobhav days are the golden opportunity to do that, because exactly for the reasons he's describing here. So yeah, and just that, again, to not be afraid, and that to express doubt and to have conversation and Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī in a proper way is not breaking any Vaishnav etiquette. So how special and wonderful it is to have the opportunity of to have an assembly where we can practice this this important, how can you say, activity. This is an essential activity of growing in bhakti and association and removing those anarthas. And so to have an assembly of Vaishnavas. So thank you so much for facilitating. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. That is such a beautiful point. Actually, yeah, Param Gurudev, he does that a lot in his articles. He'll say things that you think, oh wait, you're not supposed to say that, but he says it to show us that yes, there's space. Like you don't, like we shouldn't hold these things in, and of course we shouldn't be in a challenging mood and like, well, I don't think, but if the mood is sincere, then no matter what the doubt is, we should express it. And there's this one article by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura called Amar Bhajan. I can't wait till we get to that article. It's one of that article. And there's another one also, Have I Made a Mistake? These two articles, he's all throughout the article, it's actually kind of shocking. Like the things that he's saying, like, actually, I'm only like, he's revealing, and of course he's beyond these things, but he's showing us that these dark things, these dark doubts that we have in our heart, that we're allowed to express them. We should feel safe to express them in front of Guru and Vaishnavas. And so through his own example, he's showing us this. And if we don't express them, then like Manju was mentioning, well, that will be duplicity. And then everything that we're doing is just for show, really. And we're just trying to make a profile showing like, oh yeah, I'm a great Vaishnava. I don't have any of these doubts. And yeah, I believe that the Vaishnava is completely transcendental and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it would just be duplicity. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a great point. Okay, so the transcendental and mundane, similarities and differences. Oops, I'm just seeing the chat there. Oh yes, Shubhananda, yes, I can share those two articles. Well, send me a WhatsApp message because I always forget afterwards. So just send me a WhatsApp message and I'll do that. Okay, the trend. Let's just see how this just get the flow. So there's no difference between the Vaishnava's body and his soul. But for those who are skeptical, I'll try to clarify it with an example. For it is indeed a fact that Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura took his self-same form with him to that eternal abode of transcendental magnanimity. We shall now strive to understand this point, the transcendental and mundane similarities and differences. You have all heard that this world is a shadow of the spiritual world. No one can completely and perfectly understand every aspect of another person or object. No one can completely and perfectly understand every aspect of another person or object merely by beholding their shadow. Yet, the shadow serves the purpose of enabling us to understand which object it is. We might not know exactly the object, but we have some idea of which object it is, but we won't know the details. For example, by seeing the shadow of a tree, we can understand that its source is a tree. But the shadow will not tell us what kind of tree it is, for example, a mango tree or a lychee tree. At the same time, we will perceive that it is not the shadow of an elephant, a hill, or a mountain, but that of a tree only. We can understand that much. Similarly, by seeing the shadow of a human being, we can discern that its source must be a human being and not an animal. But it will be difficult to know whether the shadow belongs to a man called Ram or one called Yadu. In this way, since this world is only the shadow of the transcendental world, our experience of this world cannot allow us full understanding of the nature of that transcendental realm. Still, we can know about it to some degree, and that is why I'm utilizing an example from this material world in an endeavor to obtain a conception of the transcendental reality of Prakrit Tattva. This example is not completely perfect, but my insignificant intelligence cannot think of a superior one. I am furthermore presenting before you the following example, considering that this sound logic will also help dispel your doubt. That's a really great example though. So all the qualities that we see in a Vaishnava, everything that we know about the Vaishnava, it's just like seeing their shadow. We have a very vague idea of the form, but not really the details and like the reality. Just as like you can't know that person Yadu or Ram that much by seeing their shadow. You can like see, okay, it's a human being, but that's about it. So I'm furthermore presenting before you the following example, considering that this sound logic will also help dispel your doubt. You have all seen how a snake leaves its skin and then slithers away in the same form it had before. Upon seeing the skin, we understand that it belongs to the snake. The skin also tells us the exact shape and size of the snake. Although the snake has discarded its full skin, it has gone off in its complete form somewhere else. It has gone off in its complete form somewhere else. Okay, so that's one example, the snake shedding its skin, going in its complete form somewhere else. Now, I recall one verse from the Gita on this subject. You are aware of the verse. He's going to show us how this verse is different, like the two examples. This verse relates to us. The snake relates to the Vaishnava. So there's this famous verse from Bhagavad Gita, Vasangsi jirnani yata vihaya navani gurunanti naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnanyani sanyati navani dehi. I just have a hard time when it ends with a Y. Jirnani, whatever. Anyani sanyati navani dehi. Okay, so that's second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse 22. Just as a person discards his old garments and acquires new ones, similarly, the embodied soul gives up old bodies and accepts new ones. Do not consider that this verse, which applies only to conditioned souls, also applies to my subject of discussion. There's no difference. One second, Satyamataji, I'm just going to finish this paragraph. There's no difference between the body and the soul of the eternally liberated Mahapurushas. So if we apply this verse to them, we will incur an offense. As far as we are concerned, there's a vast difference between our cloth, our body, and us. I'll just finish the section and then, is that okay? Yeah. The cloth, our body, or the substance that our body is composed of, differs categorically from the substance that we, the living entities, are made of. Yeah, the body and the soul for us is completely different. Like, couldn't be more different. That is, the constitutional ingredients are diametrically opposite, the ingredients of the soul and the ingredients of the mundane body. This Gita verse is thus applicable to us, but it cannot apply to eternally liberated Vaishnavas, because for them, the upadan, or ingredients composing their bodies, and those comprising their souls are in fact one and the same. The body of a Vaishnava is not material like our bodies are. So the soul and the body of a Vaishnava are one and the same. The ingredients that compose them, they're both transcendental. Therefore, the transitory act of leaving one body and accepting another is not a transcendental or eternal function. Now deeply consider the example of the snake and the Gita's example of cloth and perceive the difference. So Satya Mataji, you had your hand raised before. Did you?
No, I just wanted to alert you to what Rukmini was saying. That there's there's a question on Facebook. You're streaming.
Oh, sorry. I haven't been on top. Let's look together. I'll share my screen here. Okay. All right. So, so many devotees. Haribol Mahibart Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams, Vidyalala Didi, Rajbhuvan Yadav, Gopal Ghanasham. Wow, there's so many devotees. Shamala Mataji, Champak Mataji. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Indira Mataji. Haribol Indira Mataji. She says, my question is from is what form of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura is eternal? Is that of him as a young man or the latest as an older man? That's a good question. She says, I have wondered for some time about this because we're supposed to worship those eternal forms, but there are different ones, some younger, some older. I guess we should worship them all. Yeah, I mean, I know, like, when it comes to worshiping pictures, like the picture that I think we should worship them all. But then the ones that we have, like, on our altar that we really meditate on, I once heard that it should be pictures that are serious also. You know what I mean? Like it's nice to see happy pictures and pictures like that, but with a serious photo, that picture can speak to us in many different ways. Pictures, it might not always be happy with us, but yeah, the form, I think all the forms are worshipable, but that form which is most helpful for us is the form of Sri Guru, when they're giving instructions to us and, you know, chastising us and like that. So I wouldn't put a picture of, you know, of I'm like my Gurudev as a child. I mean, I don't think there's any picture, but I wouldn't put a picture of him as a child on the altar to worship, because that's not the you know, the guru disciple relationship that's beneficial for me. That's not going to be what nourishes that so much. So, but yeah, I think all the forms are transcendental. All right. But that's an interesting question. Yeah, very good question. Okay, so we should deeply consider the example of the snake and the Gita's example of a cloth and perceive the difference. Yeah, the snake doesn't just leave his body and enter a new body like conditioned souls, but in his self-same body, he discards his thing and continues moving. So that is like Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Whereas we leave one body like and discard it like old cloth and enter a new body. That's not what Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura does. It's not like he had to go into another body in his next life. Okay. Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's all spiritual form. At the time of his disappearance, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura took his body, which is completely composed of knowledge and bliss, Chid Anandamoy, with him to the transcendental abode. It's just like the snake. Shedded his body, continued on. A snake, which takes its complete form with it when it leaves behind its skin or shape in its trail, He does not simply discard old and torn cloth, its body, and don new cloth, that means take a new body. Similarly, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura took his supremely munificent and compassionate body to the transcendental abode, where he is situated. He did not leave his body and accept a new one, as one leaves old cloth for new. In this temple room, named avidyā-haraṇa, that place where ignorance is totally removed, we are taking darshan of the vigraha, or the picture of Śrīla Ṭhākura's manifest, his prakat, and unmanifest, his uppercut pastimes. That vigraha is his beautifully decorated worshipful form, archa. Sorry, I'm just seeing the comments. Yes, Rukmini Didi said, I highlighted this, that Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura took his body and did not leave his body and accept a new one. He took his body with him. Yes, so the picture of him before us is his very Archamurti, which is transcendental. This form is not transitory, but eternal. And this indeed is his form in the manifest, in the prakat and unmanifest, uppercut pastimes. If this murti were not eternal, then we would not diligently seek out his eternal murti and worship that. Oh, sorry. If this murti were not eternal, then we would diligently seek out his eternal murti and worship that alone. But in fact, this very murti is established at Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura's place of samadhi, and thus is never material or temporary. I guess they had a picture of his vigraha there. So that form is never material or temporary. We never heard our Acharya Dev, Srila Prabhupada, instruct us to worship a temporary material object, or to imagine a material object to be transcendental and worship it. Therefore, with a peaceful mind, free from doubt, aim to understand the purpose of this example. Consider the subject carefully and see, in every respect, that the body and the soul of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura are totally one and the same, and that he is eternal, he is nitya, he is transcendental, aprakrit, and everlasting and primeval, sanatan. Yes, Manjari Didi.
Just a question to pose before the assembly here, going back a couple of sentences. He spoke about the upadan or upadan of the ingredients of the Nitya Mukta Jeev. Their soul and their body is made up of the same ingredients, whereas that's not the case with the Nitya Baddha Jeevs, the conditioned soul. So what are the upadan? Is it Sat Chit Ananda, as he started to explain, or is it that, Chit Shakti in some form or another, or how has anyone heard or read more specifically those ingredients? I know for the conditioned souls, it would be ignorance and, avidya, calm, which perpetuates and puts into motion the machinery of the laws of karma. So it's the laws of karma which are forced by force. The conditioned soul is transmigrating, whereas the liberated soul is appearing out of prema and love and the order of Radha and Krishna to manifest for a specific mission and purpose. So I don't know the Sanskrit, but I know that in principle, from what I've heard, that what's causing their appearance and disappearance is their mercy and the instruction of the Lord. But technically, what are those upadan ingredients that comprise it? Their body is made up of prema, right? Shri Guru Charana Padma in that kirtan, Prema Bhakti, Jaharachari. Sorry, I'm mixing up the lines, but you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of like the same tattva with
Prasadam.
Prasadam also. Yes.
Yeah.
Prasadam,
Right.
and also Thakurji, to us, Thakurji looks like Thakurji was made out of marble, but how do we tell that form of Thakurji is actually transcendental? Because we understand in theory, at least, that Srila Rupa Goswami's Govinda Dev, that's not just, you know, any mundane piece of slab. It is spiritual. Rukmini, you have your hand raised?
Well, just a comment that what separates the material from the spiritual is remembrance versus forgetfulness of Krishna. So we were reading in Chaitanya Bhagavat, or we were hearing in Chaitanya Bhagavat class about the difference between Divya Saraswati and Dushta Saraswati. That there is the same Devi, or called by the same name. The Divya Saraswati is Chinmay. She's transcendental. She's part of the internal potency, and she has a shadow, Dushta Saraswati, who helps one to become proud of one's knowledge and use that for one's own gratification. That's how Keśava Gosvāmī got the boon of being Digvijoy from Dushta Saraswati. So all the Mahabhutas, the ingredients, we hear that we are supposed to see them all as ingredients for Krishna's service. So in that case, that means that they're the bhog, which is supposed to become prasad. But that means if when we're seeing them that way, then they're transcendental. So the Vaishnava is always seeing their whole body and their situation, their resources, and everything as ingredients of service of Krishna. And there's several places where it's explained how the senses, the mind of a sadhaka who is attaining perfection, they become on that path, they become spiritualized. So it is those same ingredients are when they're ingredients of service, then they become spiritualized. Even just like a pot that we go and buy in the store, then when it becomes Krishna's paraphernalia, then it's Lord Balaram has made it part of himself as the pot, right? So anyway, I'm not sure that was just what was set off by your question. I don't know if that is of any use.
I think that was a great answer. And I'm just going to read that verse that you're quoting from Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's from, I just looked it up. It's from Antya Lila, chapter 4, verse 192 to 193. The verse is, Diksha kale bhakta kore atma samarpan, she kale Krishna tare kore atma sama. She deha kore tar chid anandamoy, aprakrit dehe tar charana bhajay. That means when the bhakta fully dedicates himself at the time of receiving diksha, Shri Krishna makes him as spiritual as himself, permeating the bhakta's body with transcendence and bliss. With his spiritual body, the bhakta then worships Krishna's lotus feet.
Could you read the Bengali again? For permeates his body with bliss and what?
With transcendence and bliss. Chid
Transcendence
and Ananda. Chit
so it
and
is
Ananda.
Chit Ananda. So it's that Samvit Sandini Ladini Shaktis, right? The Chit Shakti permeating the body.
Yes.
But that's in the case of a sadhan siddha. But in this article, he's talking about nitya siddha, eternal. So it was never actually a sadhak. I mean, he may perform pastimes, but actually he's presenting this tattva of a nitya siddha, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, so for a nitya siddha, from very birth, his body's transcendental.
But it's the same upadan. That was my question. Satchit Ananda Sandini Samvit Ladini.
Yeah. Yes.
I have heard someone say, and he had heard it from someone, but where I didn't see a citation, like we asked him afterward, and he had only heard it from another Vaishnav, so I don't know the citation, that the gunas Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are shadows of Hladini, Sandhini, Samvid. And so they bear the same relation of, just like Dushta Saraswati and Divya Saraswati, they're the shadows. So then when we have the non-shadow, then those are the real Shaktis, rather than these three gunas that the material body is made of.
Very inspiring to go back to Jaiva Dharma again and again, isn't it? Because I know that this is explained minutely in detail, and I just, it's always going over my head. But thank you for that, Rukmini Didi. It reminded me of Jaiva Dharma and how, and that's Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, isn't it? He's given he's actually given all these explanations.
Yeah, I also need to look there. Thank you.
I would love, I mean, this will have to be sometime in the future, but sometime it definitely has to happen. I really love to have a Jaiva Dharma study group where we could just go very in depth into Jaiva Dharma. It's like, that was probably the book that my Gurudev emphasized the most for devotees to study deeply. One of the books, yeah. Okay, so due to misfortune, we are not able to have the direct audience of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Despite this, may we never be separated from his association. During our student life in our youth, we read a book by Yogendranath Basu Mahārāja that stated, the book itself is a life sketch of the author. The book itself, therefore, although at the present time, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura cannot be perceived by our mundane eyes, we will collect his life from his writings and endeavor to attain his personal association through his writings. That's the end of the article. And this was translated.
Oh my gosh, that's the end? What?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. This is translated from Śrī Śrī Bhāgavat Patrikā, year 8, issue 1-2, by Rays of the Harmonist team. And it was originally published in Bengali in the daily Nadīyā Prakāśa, year 9, number 180.
He just makes it feel so real, and that it's like within our grasp to experience the actual association of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, which gives this realization that you must. It's essential. It's not just, it's that not only Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, but all of our acharyas that we must obtain, we must hanker for, aspire for, pray for, cry for, and attain gradually the association of all these personalities, the actual transcendental association. And somehow the way he said that, it was so short at the end, and it just felt so immediate and possible, and like we're just about to have it.
Yeah, it almost was like he was giving a blessing. It's like the Falashruti at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's right here, and that shows it. Like, we go to the books not to get the teachings of Bhaktivinoda, like to understand the tattva, all the principles that he's talking about. No, we go to these books to meet with him, to have his association. This is the way, that the door that he's giving us, so that we could actually have direct contact, tangible contact with him. But if we go to the book just to acquire some knowledge, to learn some things so that we can, then we won't have access to him. We'll be barred from having any access to him. But if we go in this mood, with a mood of prayer, please, Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, I want to be connected with you. And we pray to our Guru Varga, those who have seen him, the Mahabhagavats, our Guru Varga, the pure Vaishnavas, they have actually had contact with Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. They've seen, they perceive his Satchidananda form, that he is completely transcendental. And so they can, if by their mercy, if we approach these literatures of his, praying for their mercy, then they can actually give us the key so that we could actually enter into the scriptures. Otherwise, if we just try to go by ourselves without their help, we're going to only delude ourselves, right? We won't even, we'll have no contact with Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. Yeah. Jai Ho. This is really nice. I really like the system of stopping in between, rather than just reading it all through. This is a lot. And yeah, thank you so much. Does anybody have any other, from anything that we read, anything that's been on their minds, anything that they want to discuss further?
Well, there was that point that you, Shubhanandapur wants to say something.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Prabhu, you continue, please, Prabhu. But I will talk later.
Okay. Well, there was that point that you mentioned earlier that about Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, about his form in this world. That is it the same form in Gaur Leela. As far as I understood, or as far as my understanding goes, that the form of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura that we see in this world, it's that of his sadhaka rupa, or him taking the form of a practitioner. Like, so to us, he looks like he's taking this form like a practitioner, even though he's not a practitioner, he's Nityasiddha. But in Gaur Leela, or in uppercut Gaur Leela, he has a completely different form, and that is a young form, young, a youthful, Kishore form, serving Mahaprabhu under Rupa Goswami. And that's the same for the rest of our Guru Varga. You know, the Babajis, they say that some of the Acharyas, they're Brahmins. That's what some say.
I didn't understand that last point, but no, that what you're saying before like, yeah, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, like his form in Gaur Leela must have like lotus eyes and like, you know, completely,
Yes, exactly.
right, like red palm, you know, like the like we read the beautiful descriptions of all of Mahaprabhu's, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, what I mentioned at the end was that some Babajis, they say that the spiritual master is a 12-year-old Brahmin boy serving Mahaprabhu, and a 13-year-old Manjari serving Srimati Radhika. That's what some people say.
Our Gurudev actually has commented a lot on this, and I don't want to repeat any of it because it's beyond my adhikar, but I would encourage those who are interested can research and find more in his darshans and in his writings. But I will say one thing, which is that the sadhak swarup of the acharya, according to what I've heard, is also eternal, and as we've read in this article, and that that those pastimes are also eternally going on always somewhere.
So Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, in the same way that we see him now, the exact same face, everything might be in a different universe in that exact same form in the sadhak group also, right? But it also could be like he has lots of sadhak groups, maybe also, right? Like there's nothing
Yes.
transcendental. These personalities are never limited in any way. They're completely, so any idea that we think of is very, yeah. So we should never limit them to only one thing. But yes, but that form is also, Manjari's mentioning, is eternal. It's not just, yeah.
But as you said too, that he may have unlimited other forms, sadhak forms, acharya forms, because that acharya, that audarya manifestation of their pastimes is also eternal and going on.
Yes. Jai Ho. Okay, I'm just taking a look at the comments here. Hare Krishna, Anjali Didi, Madhusudan Prabhu, Shashamaji. All right. Oh wait, no, Shubhananda, you were about to say something, right?
The question arises in my mind is Linga Bhanga Hoy Anayasa. Maybe Harinam, Jai Jai Harinam, that particular case. So
yes.
actually, my thinking was that this Divya body or Aprakpurusha carries is something different from their physical appearance. So this particular article dispels that misconception actually, that their physical body as well as their spiritual body both are aprakruta. Is it correct, Prabhu?
Yes, yes. Like that verse from Jai Jai Harinam, Linga Bhanga
Can you
Hoy
repeat it? I
Anayase.
couldn't hear what he said.
Yeah, the
Can you repeat
connection
the
was not
question?
so clear, but he was just meant like you can let me know if I got it wrong, Shubharanabhu, but in that song Jai Jai Harinam Chidananda Mritadam, the last verse says Tava Swalpa Spurti Pai Ugra Tapture Jai Linga Bhanga Hoy Anayase. That's by when Harinam manifests on the tongue, no, when you get spurti of the form of the name, then the material body is completely destroyed. And Jai Harinama Jai. But with Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, this is not like there is no material body to like his body is itself transcendental also. Like it's not so that refers to us, but not to right? Did I understand correctly, Shubhanandabu? I didn't fully understand what you're saying.
Yes, yes. Actually, I'm driving, so
Oh,
yes,
okay.
that's what I was mentioning.
Okay.
There was one other thought that came to mind. I don't know if anyone else was thinking it, but it was kind of indirectly addressed in the article, which was that you can imagine somebody's material form is a transcendental form or will become transcendental, but he was saying this is not our teachings. So I felt indirectly in that was perhaps a warning or a clarification that there's many people that accept a Kanishta Adhikari or less than Kanishta as a topmost Mahabhagavat Vaishnav, and that confusion about, and then they worship their material body, and there's, I'm speaking in principle, not about any specific incident or person, but in principle, they're worshiping a body and a person who's completely absorbed in the material concept of life, bound by the laws of karma and still under the control of Kam and puja, la, pratishta, and all that, and they're worshiping their material body as transcendental. It's the greatest. When you hear this article of where their devotee is and what their body is, it's such a contrast, and yeah, he didn't go into it, but just kind of indirectly touched on that, and I guess the tattva of what it is, what a pure Vaishnava is, and what their body is, we can get the sukriti then, hopefully, and he said the good fortune to be able to realize or appreciate the Mahabhagavat. And then not be, what did he say in the beginning? He said, again, it was indirect. He said, if we fail to do it, we'll be beset. At the very beginning of the article, there was a sentence, and it was a warning. It was like, if we fail to understand this, we'll be beset with, what did he say? Inauspiciousness and something else. And you could see maybe in the Bengali what word it was. Grief and inauspiciousness. Well, what does that mean? What is an example? What kind of grief and inauspiciousness? Well, one kind of deep inauspiciousness is asat sangha, and being so bewildered that you're cheated, so bewildered that you're about Bhagavat Tattva and Vaishnav Tattva, that you're cheated out of true association with very sweet sadhus, pure devotees. So what greater inauspiciousness could there be than that? But it was just something that came to my mind. It wasn't directly said. He's just saying there will be great inauspiciousness. But what does that mean? We should very carefully think, and then think of, there's so many implications, like how will we then interact with, there's so many Vaishnavas with so many different conceptions in our world, and just to be careful and take shelter.
Yes. That is a very huge topic also. That could be like, that's actually a topic I'd really love to go more deep into though sometime. Just about, okay, we were reading about Transcendental Vaishnava, like these personalities like Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, okay, there's no room for doubt. But then what about other people who are on different levels, like
What's the result?
Adhyam-adhikari? Yeah.
And what's the
And also what's the
difference between meditation?
Well, and what is the duty of a disciple?
Well,
for someone
Cassette,
to have?
he said, even if you don't realize, sorry, before I forget, sorry. He said, even if you don't realize any of these things, but somehow by good fortune, you have this shraddha, even if, what did he say? You're not seeing him, but he's still there. And we are getting his association, even if we're not seeing him, we don't have that realization, but yet we are getting his association, if we're fortunate. And following the instruction of the bona fide acharya, then we are getting his association. It's a matter of time only. I guess I'll just end with that. Sorry, I interrupted you, Madhukar. Can you?
No, that's fine. That's fine. Actually, now it's 8:30, so I think that's a good, that's usually when we begin and end our readings every day. And so, but maybe just to end the program, maybe we could sing one kirtan. We'll end with a kirtan, and then yes, Shubhananda Prabhu, yes.
One point I just recall is about Vani and Vapu. It's something related. Vani and Vapu. He lives. Other person body lives in Vani, in the sound form, eternal sound, and Vapu, which it is not related to this particular topic.
Yes. Yeah, with the pure Vaishnava, Vani and Vapu are both transcendental. And in this article, we've been focused on the Vapu, right? The other articles are more focused on the Vani. So we're so lucky to have so much. Our acharyas have given us so much, all the resources we need, all the help we need to try to understand that these personalities, they're Vani and they're Vapu. Yeah, Jai Ho. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we will sing. I think maybe a nice song to sing on this topic is by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Nira Dharma Gata Jana Vishalile Panka Pena Drishta Hoy. This is here, just to understand the transcendental nature of the Vaishnavas, their body. Nira, let me just find it. Nira, oops. Nira Dharma. Okay, there it is. Okay, one second. I'm just going to get a mridanga and then we can sing this and then we'll end for today. God, Word is being really stupid right now. It's not even letting me highlight anything. Anyways, whatever. You'll just have to see it like this. I wanted to make it on 4 lines. What the heck? Won't even let me select. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I think that's clear enough, right? Just turning on sounds for musicians. There. Okay, getting a mridanga. Now it's letting me highlight. Nah, whatever. It's being dumb. Okay, doesn't matter. Okay, so this is Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura. He wrote a song based on every verse of Upadeshamrita, well, the first 8 verses. And this is for verse, is it 5 or 6? The verse, Dushtai Svabhava Janatar Vapushashta Doshar. Okay, 1 second.
I think that's 6.
6, okay, 6. Drishtai Svabhava Janatar Vapushashta Doshar Na Prakritatam Iha Bhakta Janasya Pashyat Gangam Vashamna Kal Purpurapena Pankar. Oops. Sorry. Okay. There. O Hari, mud and foam may be observed in the waters of Jahnavi, the Ganga, who possesses an aqueous nature. But the nature of liquefied transcendence never leaves those waters. Similarly, the body of the Vaishnav is always transcendental. From any perspective, his nature and body are never mundane. As such, one who criticizes him falls into the terrible pit of adharma. For that offense, the soul perpetually receives suffering from Yamaraj. O Nandanandan, may I not be destroyed by such an offense. Your Vaishnavas are your glory, May they be merciful to me. Then my journey will lead to you, and I will attain the shade of your lotus feet. It's a beautiful kirtan, huh? This is a song I always sing whenever I feel like I've committed an offense. Also, when I... Okay. Hari he niradharma kata jana visalile pankha phena drishta hoy tatapi kokhon brahmadrava dharma seshalila nacharoy Vaishnava sharira aprakrita sada svabhava puradharme kabhu nahe jara tatapi je ninde pore se vishama pore se vishama dharme pore se vishama dharme she aparade jamera jatana pai jiva avirata He Nanda Nanda she aparade He Nanda Nanda she aparade Jeno nahi hoy hata Jeno nahi hoy hata Tomar Vaishnava Vaibhava tomar ka amare koruna doya Tabe mor gati hobe tava prati Tabe mor gati hobe tava prati Pavo tava pada chaya Pavo tava pada chaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura Bhaktivinoda Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Guru Parampara Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Bol Kishore Prabhu, would you like to do Jaidwani?
Jai Sabrikash Shri Guru Gauranga Ganharvika Giridhari Radha Vinod Bihari Radha Nainath Radha Raman Bihari Radha Madhava Shishi Sachinanan Gaura Hari Radha Madhava Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Jai Natya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Par Paramaham Savre Vrajagchari Varya Stotrashta Shishiman Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Guru Maharaj Ki Jai जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपार परमहंस ब्रजचार्य वर्य स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति वेदांत शल नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज पतित पावन गुरुदेव की जय जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपार स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति बल तीर्थ गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपार स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति विरान वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय नत्यालेल प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपार स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमान भक्ति विरान त्रिविक्रम गोस्वामी महाराज की जय त्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमार भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय त्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमान भक्ति प्रमार पुरी गोस्वामी महाराज की जय त्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमान भक्ति रक्षक श्रीधर देव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमान भक्ति दैत माधव गोस्वामी परम गुरु महाराज की जय जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमान भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज परम गुरुदेव चार केशरी की जय जय शिल परम गुरुदेव की जय जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपादस्तोत्रस्त शिशिमान जगुरगुरु शिवर शबाना विदयित दास शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय स्वाप्रकाशल प्रभुपाद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर की जय त्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद महापरम भगवत परवार परमहंस स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमार गौर किशोर दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय त्यालेल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद सप्तम गोस्वामी स्तोत्रस्त शिशुमार सच्चित आनंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर महाशय की जय जय शिल सचिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर महाशय महाजन की जय जय नत्यलेल प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपार वैष्णव सर्वभौम अष्टोत्रस्त शिशिमान जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाशय की जय जय श्री कंदवास श्री शिल मधुसूदन दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय श्री उर्वदास उदरान दास की जय गुरुविदान आचार्य शिशुमान बलिदेव विभूषण प्रभु की जय महामहोपध्याय रसिक शिरोमणि शिल विश्वनाथ चक्रवर्ती ठाकुर पाद की जय शिल रसिकानंद मुरारी प्रभु की जय शिशिल रामचंद्र कविराज की जय शिलोचन दास ठाकुर की जय शिल नरोत्तम श्रीनिवास श्यामानंद प्रभु त्राय की जय शिशिल कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय यशवतार अरिका विशल वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय श्री अष्ट कविराज वसुरजान नित्यानंद दुरश गोपाल श्री चौषति महंत जगाय मदाय की जय जय श्री रूपा श्री सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ सर्गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय श्री स्वरूप दामोदर रमनंद लोकनाथ गर्भ अदि गौर परिषाद वृंद की जय नमाचार्य शील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री ईश्वर परिपार की जय श्री माधवेंद्र परिपार की जय श्री लक्ष्मीपति तीर्थ की जय जय श्री अंतरदेव मायापुर समानदेव गौद्रदेव मध्यदेव कलिदेव रिद्धिदेव जानुदेव माधुरुद्र महादेव रुद्रदेव मात्मका श्री नावदेव धाम की जय श्री स्वानंद सुगर कुंज की जय श्री सुरभि कुंज की जय जय श्री एक चक्र धाम की जय श्री शांतिपुर धाम की जय श्री गौर नित्यानंद अद्वैत राय की जय श्री श्री गौर गराधर जी की जय जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ गोपी कपा गौ गिरि गोवर्धन वर्षटवनात्मक श्री ब्रजमंडल धाम की जय श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड गंगा सखी आमन सखी तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय जय वृषभानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा रानी ठाकुरानी की जय जय श्री ललिता विशाखा चित्रा चंबकला तुंग विद इंदुलेख रंगदेवी सुदेवी आदि सखी वृंद की जय जय श्री अनंग प्रेम मंजलाल श्री रूप लवंग राग विलस गुण रति कस्तूरी कमल नयन मणि अरि मंजारी वृंद की जय श्रीमती वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भगवती पूर्णमासी योगमाय देवी की जय। जय श्री गोपीश्वर सरशी महादेव की जय। जय राधा पदन की दाम श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र नीलमाधव की जय। जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर समाधि मंदिर की जय। जय शिल प्रभुपाद आविर्भाव स्थली की जय। जय श्री जगन्नाथ पुरी पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र मंडल नीलाचल धाम की जय। जय सर्व विकनामिन शंकरे भक्त विकनामिनाश श्री इंद्र सिंह देव की जय। जय भक्तराज भक्त प्रवर श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय। जय श्री प्रहलाद लक्ष्मींद्र सिंहदेव की जय। जय श्री चरिराम चरि संप्रदाय चरि आचार्य की जय। श्री मध्वार मनोज विष्णु स्वामी नंबित्याचार्य चार्य की जय। श्री चर्याचार्य की जय। जय कर्मतरा श्री चैतन्य मार की जय। श्री गौरी मार वृंद की जय। जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमाद भगवताम भगवद गीता चैतन्य चरितामृत चैतन्य भागवत जैव धर्म आदि सर्व गौरी वैष्णव ग्रंथ वृंद की जय। ऑल द बुक्स by Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura की जय। जय त्रिभुवन मंगल श्री हरि नाम प्रभु की जय। जय त्रिभुवन मंगल श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन धर्म की जय। जय त्रिभुवन मंगल धन्य कलयुग तरक ब्रह्म श्री हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे महामंत्र की जय। श्री आनंद करी वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री समगत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री शिल सप्तम गोस्वामी सचिदानंद भक्तिविनोद ठाकुर महाजन की जय। परमहंस शिरोमणि शिल भक्तिविनोद ठाकुर की जय। शिल परम गुरुदेव चार्य केसरी की जय। श्री आनंद करी वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री समगत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय श्री वैष्णव तत्व की जय। जय श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदेवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। मञ्जाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानं पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This was such an enlivening discussion. I think this is one of the best Iṣṭa-goṣṭhīs we've had yet. And it's all because of you. Thank you so much. And I'm just a couple announcements. So usually we're doing every Amavasya, but I'm going to cancel this last one so that we can finish Chaitanya Bhagavat in time, because I want to finish Chaitanya Bhagavat on Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur's disappearance day. So the next Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī session we'll have, Rays of the Harmonist Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī session, will be on, just looking at my calendar, it is on the 20th, April 20th. So, yeah, on Saturday, April 20th. But the day after tomorrow, on the 7th, Sunday, in India Sunday, but I think in the West on Saturday, we're going to go through Dainik Nadīyā Prakāśa. Srivas, he will take us through Dainik Nadīyā Prakāśa. He'll show some of the highlights from the things that he's been translating from there. He's been translating it every day. So that's the day after tomorrow. And yeah, I guess that's it. If anybody wants to have the calendar to see the schedule of the Rays of the Harmonist, our Rays of the Harmonist readings, the Dainik Nadīyā Prakāśa readings, and also I made another calendar for the Chaitanya Bhagavat readings. If you want to see that, then you can go to vineofdevotion.com. See the last post I made. It says Gaurabda 538. You'll find the link there to the Google Calendars so that you can keep on top of this program. And also, if you can go to raysoftheharmonist.com, enter in your email there, and then before our next Iṣṭa-goṣṭhī session, 24 hours before, I send out the article, and I also make a EPUB of it. I send that to your email. So and there's also WhatsApp groups. So you can find all those links on raysoftheharmonist.com. One is on vineofdevotion.com for the calendar, and raysoftheharmonist.com to subscribe to the mailing list. All right, thank you so much for joining. Dandavat Pranams, Kishore Krishna Prabhu, Manjari Didi, Rukmini Didi, Shubhananda Prabhu, Champak Mataji, Shamala Mataji, and then there's a bunch of other devotees left. But On YouTube and Facebook, Vishaka Didi, Ashu Singh, Amit Dandekar, Vidya Lalasa Didi, Rajbhuvan Yadav ji, oh Mahi Bharat Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams Prabhu, who else? Indira Mata ji, Anjali Didi, Haribo, Madhusudan Prabhu, Shash Sharma ji, and a bunch of other devotees. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, and Indira Mata ji, Hare Krishna. Yeah, so thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you either tomorrow for Chaitanya Bhagavat, the day after tomorrow for Dainak Nadīyā Prakāśa, or on the next Rays of the Harmonist session on the 20th. Dandavat Pranams. Hare Krishna. I'm just looking at the chat. Oh, and a bunch of devotees are mentioning that there are, because we're talking about Jaiva Dharma, there are two different Jaiva Dharma groups. There's a study group in Boston Sangha by a devotee named Nimai Chaitanya Prabhu on Facebook. So look up for Nimai Chaitanya Prabhu on Facebook if you want to join his study group. Also, Tridandi Maharaj gives a daily daily Jaiva Dharma classes. I'm sure there's information on that on his website, bbtridandi.com. So, all right. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavat Pranams. I'm going to end it now. Hare Bol.